AI isn't yet at the point where it's 100%. 18,000 diseases. You have about 700 AI algorithms with FDA approval. So you're still talking about another 16,000 diseases that we don't yet have all the AI for. The good thing is, I think patients will always need that doctor. The doctor plus AI, even better. The doctor plus AI plus that doctor's empathy, then that's the best. People who are depressed, if you teach them how to give, they can get over their depression and they can get off antidepressants.
From healing tiny hearts to building healthcare innovation that impact millions, Dr. Sunita Maheshwari has redefined what it means to lead with purpose. In this episode of Expressions, she shares the journey, mindset, and values behind a life dedicated to making a difference.
Hi, welcome to Expressions. I'm Neha. We all know that women are known for wearing multiple hats. We have our guest today is one such extraordinary woman, and let's get to chat with her and let's get to know about her journey and know more about her life. Hi, Sunita. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to begin by asking you that you've held newborn's heart the size of the walnut in your hands, and you've also sat on the boardroom of India's largest private bank, helping make decisions which are very crucial for many people. So, which room intimidates you more and why?
Well, I know the right answer would be holding the baby's heart, but that I don't find intimidating. And I think that's perhaps because of experience, having done it, trained as a PD cardiologist, done so many cases. You get that once you have the experience, it gives you confidence. And when you put all your kind of ducks in order for a case, you have the right team, you know what you're going to do. I feel quite confident going in
You're
and
in control,
executing.
basically.
I'm in control, right?
Yeah.
A boardroom, on the other hand, some things are out of my control. I don't know how the other board members will react. There may be certain geopolitical situations going on impacting our decisions. There may be some competitors doing that impacts what happens. But the decision we make there will have an impact on millions of people because we're dealing, especially at a bank, you're dealing with their deposits, you're dealing with their livelihood, you're dealing with their future, what they've put away for their retirement. So you don't want to get something, a decision wrong that can have ripple down effects on millions of people. And so therefore, perhaps for me, I find that scarier. Maybe a banker would say, that's an easy one, and he finds the heart thing scarier. So I think it all boils down to competence and what you feel you're in control of or not.
Absolutely. Having said that, whatever little knowledge I have, I know that with a child, with a small baby, you need to be absolutely precise because you can't go wrong, right? I mean, even down to the anesthesia you give, it has to be precise to the point. So where do you feel? I mean, since you mentioned that the bank seems more intimidating to you, but both require precision. And
Yes.
can you elaborate on that a little more?
So I guess a little bit depends on your level of expertise and competence. So with a baby's heart, I feel competent. I've trained for this, years of practice. So that gives that confidence. And like with anything new, when we don't feel as competent, we have to work doubly hard in a sense at it to overcome that. And sometimes a collective decision can impact millions. Whereas in this case, it is my decision and me and that baby. And I think as long as you feel comfortable with your own skills and you've honed them and it's you and your one decision without so many variables. There are variables, as you said, there's anesthesia, there's the babies, that something may go wrong that you don't anticipate. But in general, medicine, we have something what is called like the checklist. You make sure that the anesthesia, you've done the pre-anesthetic check. You make sure your diagnosis is accurate. The plan has been thought through. The balloon size has been decided. Which, leg you're going to use, which catheter. As long as all those are in place, generally it goes well. So I guess it's a question of sometimes, whereas in a bank, there are so many unknowns as well, right? Because what's happening in the outside world? How are people viewing the stock price? Do people want to put in deposits or mutual funds? are the foreign guys taking out of India or bringing into India? So many things that you can't actually control.
Sure.
And that's what I feel like when we can't control things fully, it's a little scarier. And
That's the
therefore,
word.
working on ourselves in whatever field we are to control the variables makes it less scary in a sense.
Sure. Also, your company builds AI that interprets medical scans. So answer me as a grandmother, not as a founder. If a child in your family needed a heart diagnosis tomorrow, would you trust the machine's first reading?
That's an interesting question. I think, as you know, AI is here to stay. Now, so my other hat, so one hat was the PD cardiologist, one hat is HDFC Bank board, but my other hat is as co-founder of Teleradiology Solutions. So we basically are India's largest teleradiology company, and we report for about 150 hospitals globally. Now, all these years that reporting, which means the CT scans would come, X-rays come, and it's done, all the reporting was done by the doctor. Similarly, in cardiology, I run a telecardiology practice. We cover 15 hospitals. The echo scans come. I review it on digital and give my opinion. Today, AI is changing how that's done. So, AI is giving perhaps the first read. AI is giving a draft report. Right now, AI isn't yet at the point where it's 100%. And I don't know with medicine, because if you think about it, we have about 18,000 diseases. You have about 700 AI algorithms with FDA approval. So you're still talking about another 16,000 diseases that we don't yet have all the AI for. Also, one patient may have many diagnoses, and maybe you're using one algorithm that's picking up one thing. So right now, I would say you still need us. Yay. You still have human in the middle, doctor in the middle. And I think that experience, because I would say for a kid with heart disease, for instance, it's not going to be like they just have one hole. They may have 7 holes at different places. They may have a hole problem plus a valve problem. They may have a hole and a valve and a blood vessel which is also narrowed going to the body. So we don't have AI that yet that's going to see all of that in one shot. So right now, I think you all still need the doc. But I think what we have to do as doctors is really take the best that AI can give. So if there are subtle things that the human eye can miss, then, certainly add AI into our practice so AI helps with that. If there's a triage, you want certain cases to come to the top of the list so that you don't miss it, use AI for that. So I think using AI in medicine, and it's interesting because it's going to be a completely different world for doctors also, as it is for the rest of mankind. But the good thing is, I think patients will always need that doctor. The doctor plus AI, even better. The doctor plus AI plus that doctor's empathy, then that's the best. I will go back to science. So, psychiatric, what we say in India, research has shown that if you give, you don't get depressed. So if you give, it releases like these endorphins and you don't get depressed. So people who are depressed, if you teach them how to give, they can get over their depression and they can get off antidepressants. So it's very interesting. So I perhaps naturally have always wanted to give. I mean, that's why I went to medical school. That's why I moved back. We left faculty positions at Yale in the US and moved back to India because I wanted to be a doctor in this country where I felt there was a great need. And that desire to give, then at some point I felt I can give one-on-one to my patients, but maybe I can do other things. And so we started People for People, a trust fund, and Telrad Foundation, and then mentoring youngsters and giving in many ways. I think giving has many forms, right? I think as a doctor, we're blessed because you're giving every day. But you can give in any which way. It could be just being nice to the security guard, outside. So that, I think because of that, I feel I'm never depressed. I'm always happy. I always am looking forward to the next day. And I feel if the 25-year-olds can just imbibe that, it's okay. We don't have to always be earning the maximum or wearing the fanciest clothes or having the latest watch. You see, no watch. As long as we are sort of giving in any which way, whether it's a little bit of ourselves today, whether it's being nice to our mom, our grandmom, joining a volunteering group, working and maybe taking 5% of our money and putting it to an NGO, in whatever way. If we learn from a young age to give, trust me, no midlife crisis.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So you reinvested every rupee back into your company for 2 decades and chose not to live lavishly, like you just said. What's the most expensive thing you've ever said no to, and what did that decision buy you instead?
So the first part is interesting, right? So we started this company because we moved back to Bangalore from the US and couldn't get jobs. And what do they say? When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So we started a small company from our home office, from our home in Whitefield, and that grew into Teleradiology Solutions. And because perhaps, it's funny because I always felt that business was a bad word, like that typical doctor. Like if you're doing business, there's, oh, bad, 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 bad. But when we became medical entrepreneurs, it was actually a very satisfying journey because you're also giving jobs to people, right? It's a creative process. You're growing something. And since that had never been started with the idea to get money, I mean, for us, money was incidental. A lot of people have asked us, how did you get this? We've had a massive exit last year. How did you get that? Did you plan it? I said, no. We came back to India to work here. We couldn't get a job. We set up a company. We continued growing that company for the right reasons because we felt it made sense to provide tele-radiology. And then I set up a chain of primary care clinics called RxDX in Bangalore. And we kept reinvesting our money, our profits, to build the next thing. So why did we do that? One, because we believed in what we were building, right? Two, we had found the joy of giving in entrepreneurship, that the more we could grow, the more jobs we could get, the more people we could impact. Today, we employ 1,100 people, so we support 1,100 families. So that joy was greater than the joy of, okay, a Gucci Prada bag or, something which is luxury. Now, sometimes we've had FOMO because when you look at many of the startups today, they get a lot of funding very early. They may scale rapidly. You may have the unicorns and the boonicorns or whatever it's called today, but they may also crash and die, without a trace. So you have both ends of it. In our case, we never took funding. For over 20 years, not one paisa. And it's not that VCs didn't come. First, it used to be the angel guys and the VC guys, then the PE guys. And I always told them, you be our friend. When we are ready, we will sell. We'll do a secondary sale to you. But we don't want to take your money and then grow it. So the hardest thing I would say we have said no to is to a lot of money early on. Because private equity can come, give you a lot of money. And of course, then you're growing it and they want to go 3x, 4x. And it was not easy saying no. But I felt very strongly that in healthcare, too much money is not a good thing. Because when you have too much money in healthcare as, invested, what are you doing? You've got to obviously give investors their money back. And so you've got to scale, you've got to perhaps increase your rates, you've got to do things to grow. And in healthcare, perhaps in B2C and e-commerce, you burn a lot. In healthcare, it's about you and that patient and trust and growing that. And so I always felt that in healthcare, it's better to have less funding, grow organically, grow slowly, it's okay. And so we've said no many times. And instead of that, we've used our own money to reinvest in our businesses. When we were ready, which was last year, we did sell secondary sale of one of our companies to private equity. And it was a great time to take, value off the table, as well as get a partner in with whom we can now go to the next level, dream of IPO, go down that path. So I would say that was one difficult. If you talk about luxury, I've never been a luxury person. I still am not branded, none of that, because I just feel, money is good, but money is a responsibility, and money gives you the ability to do so much with it, right? Apart from just using it for ourselves. But we were offered like that, those partnerships in private jet. You know how it is, you all contribute and then you have access to that private jet. And for a little teeny weeny bit of time, it was like seemed attractive. Okay, I don't have those long lines in the airport and then my bag getting lost, and I can have this very flashy way of traveling. And then, we thought about it. We thought about the carbon footprint of that. And, and then it's like, is that where we want to put our money? And I was like, you know what? I'd rather scale up my playgrounds, do good things with that money than me just being comfortable, when I travel. And so that's what we chose to do. So I have been scaling up the number of playgrounds we put up in government schools. We've been doing a lot more with our philanthropic work, putting up mobile units for AI-assisted diagnosis, and a lot of areas of philanthropy. And so it was like private jet, philanthropy, and we chose this one.
Wonderful. Where do you get all this positivity, energy, and you seem like a very evolved person. So where is this coming from?
My mother says that I was born a Buddha, so I don't know. I think gratitude. I feel that when we stay grateful. So the two G's I teach my kids all the time, which is gratitude and grounded. I think if we stay grateful for what we have, we will always kind of stay like a Buddha, right? Because you're grateful. If you stay grounded, if you remember, and to stay grounded, I do certain very specific things, because I feel as you grow, as we get more wealth, more power, more, say, board positions or invitations for whatever fancy things, it's very easy to not be grounded, right? And research has shown that when people become either powerful or famous or rich, the brain synapses, there are these neurotransmitters in the brain. So they actually change. The chemicals in our brain change, and we can lose empathy, we can become entitled, and our personality changes. And that's why you hear about people who've made it, have suddenly like become these spoiled brats, you read these stories. And therefore you consciously have to stay grounded. And the how do you stay grounded? I will make sure that I will go out into, walk around in the local market. I will make sure that I will go for walks in the local park. I will make sure that every few trips I will 100% go economy or on a local bus. I will listen to the stories of people who work with us, who don't have as much, and then try to help them through it. So I think I consciously stay grounded. The minute I feel myself flying in the air, I say, Maheshwari, bring yourself down. And I surround myself with people who are like that, like with my tribe. Surround myself with people who are, as comfortable on a bus to Bijapur as on a, business class flight to Boston. I think that ability to do both is very important. And the more in India today we have wealth, we have millionaires, we have lakhpatis and crorpatis and whatever. The more we have of wealth, the more important it is that those values remain, that people stay grounded, keep thinking about how they can give back, and stay grateful for what this universe has given us. So I would say G square. Gratitude and grounded.
And you forgot giving.
And giving. That's true. I should make a G cube. The gratitude, grounded, and giving. Yes.
But it's very big to recognize that and then, make the efforts to change. So kudos to you for that. So your official designation is Chief Dreamer. Tell me about one dream that failed so completely you've never spoken about it publicly.
Yeah, so I changed my title to chief dreamer and loop closer, because I realized in India you can keep dreaming and nothing happens. You have to close that loop. But one thing I would say, my mother had schizoaffective disorder, which is a mental health. When she had a nervous breakdown when I was 3, and then she recovered and she lived in India and she was okay. And then she again, when I was in med school, had a it's like a schizo. It's not exactly schizophrenia. It's schizo with depression. And we brought her here to Nimhans, and she had a psychiatrist in Hyderabad. Anyway, everyone blamed my father. And I knew as a doctor it wasn't his fault. I knew it was a psychiatric, it's a serotonin. It's just the chemicals in our brain, right? It's nothing else. Anyway, my mother did get better. She had electroconvulsive therapy. She got better. But I have always felt that mental health in our country is something that there wasn't enough work done on it. But I'm not a psychiatrist. So I started something which was a telecounseling venture very early, about 15 years ago. Well before, like in COVID, telemedicine became very popular. Today, telecounseling, telepsych is there. Those days it wasn't. I started it very early. And it was with my mother in mind. And in fact, my mother, I took her for Sasvita Bakshi launched, had a book launch. She wrote about these mental disorders. And I took my mother for the book launch. And we had not talked about mental health in 30 years. And my mother at the book launch goes up to Sasmita and says, "Sasmita, I'm a recovered mental patient." And Sasmita says, "Oh my God, that's why I wrote this book." And I told and then she asked my mother, "Would you be willing to talk on TV?" And my mother said, "Okay." And we had not discussed her. I just know I have to look after my mom, keep things calm for her. But we had not talked about in 30 years. So I started Healthy Minds, a telecounseling, but I think it was very early in India. And nobody was willing to do it online. Nobody was willing to see a counselor. And it didn't do very well. We hardly had, anyone coming to it. And it's kind of petered off. So I've done multiple startups. Teleradiology has done, knock on wood, done well, had an exit. RxDX is a chain of primary care clinics still growing. We have a tech company that builds tele software, doing okay. Image Collab clinical trials company that does radiology for clinical trials, doing okay. But Healthy Minds kind of sank. And it was something I felt like, did I not do it well enough? Did I not figure out how to reach people like my mother? But I don't know. It was timing, I think, because today there are a lot of telecounseling things that are doing quite well. And Nimans is doing, they have Manas, and today people are much more open. So it was perhaps timing. I tried. Maybe it was too early. So, one thing I don't do is blame myself. I always say, okay, there's a time for everything. Uska waqt nahi tha, as they say.
I love the attitude. Everyone should have your attitude. So, moving on, you built a company, foundation, family with Dr. Arjun for over 32 years. What's the one argument the two of you keep having? And could that very disagreement be the reason your partnership worked also so well?
That's a tough one. Huh? Good thing is we don't fight so much. But I would say one thing in which we're quite different is he takes things very personally. Like if someone says he takes, I take nothing personally. So I think we're a very good balance. Because he's like, how could you not take that personally? I'm like, if anyone says or does anything, it's something going on in their life, their problem. And that's my approach. I take nothing personally, nothing. So I think that balance has been good, because maybe once in a while you have to look a little deeper, and there was a reason. So his slight, taking things personally, once in a while I'll listen and say, acha, let me see what your point of view is. But because I take nothing personally, we somewhere come in the middle, and that's a good balance, I think. And that's why we function very well as a team. I think many times you feel like you have to be very similar to the person you're married to. We're actually quite different. Like I'm the chatty one, the outgoing one. He's the cerebral one, the thinking one, writes very well. So we've got these yin and yang personalities,
Combination,
complementary things, which actually, knock on wood, have
yeah. So you'll
worked.
work together still?
We work together. I have my office here. He has his office here. We can
Ah.
say, hey, what's going on? And a lot of my friends have said they can't work with their spouse.
Yeah.
We've kind of divided our roles. Like I'm
Yeah.
very good with HR and
Yeah.
people. Maru, so I'm good with finance.
Yeah.
So he's good with the academics, with the teaching, with the research. So he does the AI,
Literacy part.
the AI research. So I think it's just the complementary skills, and perhaps sometimes you need these, someone, if someone's very negative, you need someone perhaps very positive to balance them out. So
vice
you come
versa.
somewhere in the middle then.
Absolutely.
Balance, I guess.
Yeah. And you're an independent director at India's largest private bank. So, without naming any boardroom, what's the hardest no an independent director must be prepared to say? And have you ever had to say it?
Well, it has, being on the board of HDFC Bank has been an amazing experience because, for one, you realize how well regulated it is, right? With RBI and the banking sector in India is extremely well regulated. Governance is very high. So, it's today being on any board, one worries about governance. What is it that you don't know about when you're on the board? And that, luckily, with HDFC Bank, because governance and standards are so high, that I've never had to worry about. I think as an independent director, and that's one of the things you realize is the whole point of being on a board is you're supposed to be independent, right? And so if you agree with everything, then you're not really voicing an independent opinion. So I have had, and I also sit on the board of GlaxoSmithPharma, which of course is easier for me being a doc. And I sit on some not-for-profit boards. But I think the hardest thing for me has been, for instance, another board member. When you have to take another board member and you don't agree with who is being picked for X, Y, or Z reason, to say, no, I don't agree, because now you're talking about another professional, and then it's coming into the realm of judgment. It's not, we're no longer about governance, but you're coming into judgment, and this is my judgment versus someone else's judgment. And I have found that hard, when you have to say yes or no, and my gut is saying no for certain reasons. That gets a little tricky in how you present it in a way that someone else in the room doesn't take it personally, and you're putting it very professionally. But I think, as independent directors, that is our role, is to have an independent point of view. We don't always agree, but to kind of discuss it out and come up with a consensus statement at the end of it.
That's how you contribute also, right?
Yes, very much.
But how do you manage both? I mean, is there any, do you do twice a week at the hospital, or how do you do that?
So I guess COVID has helped me a lot as a doctor. I embrace technology. So as it is, we ran a tele company. So we were using technology for radiology. I started using technology for cardiology. So I have a practice. We cover 15 hospitals. I told the group, I'll do the tele part. So I do all the tele echoes, which I can do from my laptop phone anywhere. So on the way here, tuck, 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 tuck. So I think the tele helped me in order to be able to do these other things, because I'm very passionate about, putting up playgrounds, the foundations, our philanthropic work. I'm passionate about mentoring, working with younger people. I love getting involved with growing our companies and whatever value I can add, strategic value to grow them. So since I have these, you can see these multiple colors, I have multiple hats, I wanted to make time for all these things. And, sometimes I've wondered, because people talk about, okay, you have to have, single focus on one thing to make it. For me, I'm a Gemini. I need multiple things clicking at the same time. And so the tele helped me, being able to do telecardiology. I do a lot of teleconsults. And I think as women, we're good with multitasking. But also what's helped me is planning. I'm
Being
like
organized.
being organized. I think if you're organized, half the battle is won.
Absolutely.
Once I know it's on my calendar, I have an alarm that goes off 3 days before, 1 day before, 20 minutes before. So I'm never late for a meeting. I get organized with it. If I have to read board agenda, I even block that time in.
Sure.
So I feel like I have plenty of
Easy,
time for
yeah.
everything. So I
Wonderful.
think if you're organized, little attention to detail, it's possible.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not one of those who says I'm getting stressed with so much. I
Yeah.
just like embrace it all.
Wonderful. Also, you didn't lecture your children about empathy. You just took them along with you to the medical camps. So what's one no lecture parenting hack that worked in your home that busy parents can steal?
No lecturing. So the one thing I would tell the kids is, let me think about this. So
Okay.
it was never a straight out
No.
no. Many times you're like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And then, they get immune to it.
Yeah.
So I would say, let me think about it. Give me your 3 reasons why you think I should say yes. And this works. When you are logical with children, they are logical back.
Yeah.
So they would come with these 3, reasons. And I would say, well, I have thought about this.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. My daughter came saying she wanted to go to a rock concert. So I said, okay, why do you think? She said XYZ. I said, okay, let me think about it. I came back and said, I'm okay with you going, but I'm concerned about safety,
Yeah.
drugs, alcohol, and crazy people around you.
Company. Yeah.
So but I'm okay with you going. She comes the next day. She says, I don't want to go. So I think many times, if we're logical with our kids, explain it to them,
Yeah.
they are logical back.
Yeah.
So my hack was, I never said yes or no at first instance. I always said, let me think. The second thing, 2 life hacks with parenting, is I always told them, whatever you say you're going to do, you have to ask me for 6 months.
Okay.
You want a piano class, you want painting class, tennis class.
Yeah.
You ask me for 6 months. Then once I organize it for you, you have to do it for 1 year. And this, Neha, worked like a charm. So,
Wow.
many times we want our kids to do all these hobbies, be
Yeah.
busy, and they are not interested.
Yeah, and it just keeps, I mean,
They're
there's no
jumping from one to the
yeah.
next. Parent is pushing them out the
Yeah.
door. So this hack for all parents, don't let the kids ask.
Yeah.
Then you find, and treat them like mini adults in the sense of conversations. They're very
Yeah.
reasonable. I think,
Yeah, I agree with you.
very reasonable. And I think, as everyone says, show them rather than tell them.
Yeah.
So at least in terms of empathy, in terms of doing, I used to take them everywhere. Bus to
Yeah.
Bijapur, playground installations.
Very cool.
They used to sit in the ICU on Sundays, Sunday rounds. I hated leaving them,
Yeah.
so I would take them on Sunday, put them on the chair, put the surgical scrub around the 2 of them, and push them from patient to patient in the ICU. At least they were with me and they saw what I was doing, and they would be there for my rounds, So I think in involving them with our lives,
Wow.
they don't resent your life then.
Yeah.
Kids
And they
resent
understand
what
you
they don't
better.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, doing all those little things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but my younger one is too smart. If I tell him, okay, I'll think about it, he's like, that means no, right?
No, and so when you think about it, come back 50% of the time with a yes.
Yeah.
Because then they're like so surprised and happy that.
Yeah, because no, they sometimes want immediate answer,
Yes.
right? So then he's like, okay, so that means a no, right? So I'm like, no, I'm thinking about
She
it.
said, no, it doesn't mean yes or no. I'm thinking, I'll get back to use humor. I found humor also helps with kids.
Yes, it does.
Not taking ourselves too seriously, but laughing with him.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Last question. Your father told you common sense is very uncommon.
Where did you see?
So when you face a big confusing decision, money, career, family, what's the simple question you ask yourself to cut through the noise?
Common sense is very uncommon. So when I have a decision, right, I have one very, very clear fundamental. Whatever I do must not hurt anybody. I must not stamp on anyone's toes. So for instance, if it's a decision about joining a board, I don't want to join a board if they're letting someone else go. If I'm getting promoted. I don't want to be at the expense of someone getting fired, right? So I have that very clear funda that I don't want to hurt anyone. So if this decision doesn't hurt anyone, second question is, does it benefit, who does it benefit if I do this? If it benefits some people, that's great. Third is, does it make sense for me? Do I now have, at least at this stage of life, I think about, do I have the time? Can I make the time? Do I want to make the time? So those are little more selfish things. There was a time when I said yes to everything. Today, I'm a little more circumspect because I get pulled into maybe too many directions.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think in any decision, though you have those, I sort of have that basic decision-making process. And then it gives you a lot of clarity. I'm not hurting anyone. It's going to help some people. I'm okay to do it. And then the answer is very, very clear at the end of it.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing your positive energy into our podcast. And I really, really enjoyed chatting with you today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Neha. Thank you.
Today, Dr. Sunita taught us that true success lies in staying grounded, giving back, and leading with purpose. Thank you for watching Expressions. If this episode moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the New Indian Express. Until we see you next time.